Let me ask you something, when life hits, do you break, or sharpen? Most people crumble under pressure, not because they're weak, but because they've never trained for the weight. They react, panic, and let emotions drive the wheel. But you, if you're watching this, there's something different in you. You want control. Clarity. Inner power that doesn't scream, but stares down chaos. That's mental strength. Not just the kind that survives pain, the kind that scares it. Let's be honest. You weren't taught how to build a strong mind. You were taught how to cope. How to stay small. How to avoid discomfort, not master it. You were taught to bottle your emotions until they exploded, to chase comfort and call it happiness, to scroll instead of sit with your thoughts. But here's the truth, a sharp mind isn't born in ease. It's forged in fire. And every time you ran from discomfort, you gave away a piece of your edge. But that stops now because the edge can be rebuilt. Sharpened. Reclaimed. And it starts with one decision. You don't avoid the hard anymore, you invite it. Here's what most people miss, mental strength isn't about being tough. It's about being trained. Precise. Aware. You don't react, you observe. When pressure hits, you pause, breathe, and watch. Because silence is your weapon. In that pause, you don't lose control, you take it. You use discomfort as your training ground. You wake early, take cold showers, do hard things on purpose. Not for show, but because you're teaching your mind that discomfort doesn't control you. You cut the noise and choose clarity. You unplug, journal, sit in stillness, because clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. You let pain shape you, not break you. You study failure, listen to loss, trace anger to its source. You don't bury emotions, you dissect them. And you act before you're ready. You move when it's hard, awkward, and messy. Because the mind sharpens not when it feels good, but when it wants to quit. You want to know what's intimidating. Someone who doesn't flinch. Who walks into chaos and doesn't fold. Not because they're cold, but because they're trained. When your presence makes others question their own habits, that's sharpness. When your silence speaks louder than noise, that's strength. And it's not about impressing anyone. It's about becoming someone you respect. Someone your younger self would look at and say, that's who I needed. There was a time when you overthought everything, every word, every silence, every glance. A single awkward moment could hijack your entire day, sending your mind down a spiral of doubt, replaying conversations, rewriting scenarios, and questioning your worth. Back then, your emotions didn't just visit, they stayed. They shaped how you saw yourself. If you felt anxious, you believed you were weak. If you felt hurt, you believed you were broken. But look at you now. Something's changed. You're noticing the gap, the quiet space between what you feel and how you respond. You're learning to pause, to breathe, to ask yourself, is this true? Or just loud? You're catching yourself mid-pattern. You're not letting your emotions run the show, even when they scream. You're not perfect, and you don't need to be. But you're aware. And that awareness? That's the beginning of real sharpness. Because the strongest people don't avoid emotions, and they don't numb them either. They feel fully, but they don't follow blindly. They listen to their emotions, respect them, but they don't treat them as truth. They lead with clarity, not chaos. And that's what makes them powerful. So here's your reminder, every time you do something hard, you sharpen. Every time you pause instead of react, you strengthen. Every time you sit in discomfort and stay present, you evolve. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You don't need to prove anything to be worthy. Just be sharp. Be still. Be surgical with your focus. Because in a world of noise, a clear mind intimidates. And maybe, just maybe the strongest version of you isn't louder, tougher, or faster. It's the one who's no longer controlled by chaos. It's the one who became sharp enough to cut through anything.